And 7 p.m. in Kiev, GMT +3. Let's get started. So, hi everyone, my name is Ina. I'm an events coordinator at Lift 99, and we are starting this week with another cool event. Tonight, we have a great speaker, Alex, CEO and co-founder of Reprezent UA. And we will talk about trends in presentations 2020. We have a Q&A session in the end, so if you have any questions, please write them below the video. Now I'm passing the microphone to Alex and hope you all enjoy it.
Hi guys, my name is Alex, and today we are gonna talk about presentations. So let me share my screen and start a presentation. And we will talk about the presentations in 2020. And it's still important to talk about the presentations because before the quarantine, I'm pretty sure you've been to a lot of conferences, live meetings, and you've seen such kind of slides like these. And these are slides from real world presentations, which are people doing nowadays. You can see them even online on SlideShare, for example. And it's still important to talk about the presentation design. I've started with my friends, a company called Reprezent. We do presentation design, and we are on the market for more than 5 years. For this time, we worked with a lot of different clients, from huge corporations like Fortune 500 companies to small startups in Ukraine. And we've noticed that a lot of people, speakers and companies are struggling with presentation design. And for these more than 5 years, we've seen that the presentation landscape changed a lot. And a lot of people don't know how it changed. What are the latest features of presentation software? And that's why we will talk about the trends and general recommendations on presentation design. I want to make an important note that the trends which we will discuss today are based on our experience and knowledge, which was gathered before the COVID-19 situation. And I'm pretty sure that you see that everything is changing right now. And it's hard to predict how the communication between the people and the companies will change after the COVID-19 situation. And it will affect some of the trends, and some of they can be still relevant and some cannot. I will discuss this in detail in the according sections of my presentation. But in general, we will talk about the tools, the content, and the design. So we will start from the tools. We will start from the tools because there are some people which are watching what are the users, what do the users want in presentation software and how they use this software. And these are the developers of the presentation software. We will discuss some of the presentation software which will will help you to make presentations better and faster. I'm pretty sure you know the PowerPoint, Keynote, and Prezi. PowerPoint is a presentation software for Windows-based computers, a Keynote for computers from Apple, and the Prezi, this is a startup which was founded in Hungary, and it gathered a lot of users, and because of the kind of dynamic way of presenting. I will show you the Prezi presentation if you haven't used it before. And there are some quite new tools. They are on the market for several years, but they do some pretty amazing stuff which can help you during your presentation design process. This is SlideBeam, Ludus One, and Beautiful AI. We will discuss it later, each of these presentation software. First, I want to show Prezi presentation. Just in case you haven't seen it, it looks like this. When I show this slide to a live audience, most of the people tell that it's more engaging and dynamic than PowerPoint. And that's true. That was true for some time. But in 2014, everything changed. And PowerPoint was able to make the similar presentation style, and it was easier to create dynamic presentations. And Prezi tried to differentiate themselves in some way. And this way they called the conversational presenting. So this is the trend number one, which was mostly but Prezi a lot of telling about it. And in simple words, these are interactive presentations. So when you go to the live meeting or you're presenting online to a few people, you can make an interactive presentation and you can ask your audience or the potential client or the partner, what do you want to hear from me? And if the partner or client says, I want to see your case studies, you can show the case studies directly. So these are non-linear way to present. In PowerPoint, for several years, there is a similar tool, which is called PowerPoint Zoom. And it's also an interactive. So you can see that these are the slides from my presentation. And I can click on the first slide. And I go to this slide and I can go back. And the animation is really similar to Prezi. So PowerPoint is also developing similar tools. How can you use that? I will share my example. So I have attended the Toastmasters in Kiev, and there was an icebreaker speech, a speech where I should tell about myself. And I decided that in these 5 minutes, I want to share some stories about me. There were 3 stories which came up to my mind. The stories which is connected to chocolate, and me to coffee, and to penguin, the penguins in general. And there was time, these 5 minutes, only for 2 out of 3 stories. So I asked the audience, which story do you want to hear the first? And everybody said about the penguins. Then I asked about the second one. They told about the coffee, and I told this story about me and the coffee. And the third story, there was no time for that, but after the meeting, the Toastmasters meeting, some people, that was the first touching people for the first touching point for the people, and they could come to me and ask me already a question. What was the story about you and the chocolate? And I can share that. So there is a trend to more interactive. When all of us are experiencing the quarantine and the lack of personal connection, there is also one more interesting tool, which is called Prezi Video. They launched it just a few months ago, and you can see that this is kind of the way of presenting, where the presentation is overlaid on your video. So the person is in focus and the presentation is overlaid over you, and it can help you to create some more personal connection, more than just a big screen like right now and a small avatar of me. So you can check it out. It's called Prezi Video, and it's a newest tool from Prezi. The trend number 2, the animation. Animation was popular from the moment it started in PowerPoint. So when people first could use animation in the 90s, they used animation like that. And actually, we've held a lot of corporate educations, and we've seen that in some companies, people are still using such kind of animation. But right now, there is a trend for more smooth animation. And PowerPoint in 2014 and Keynote around that time introduced the features which can help to create this smooth animation. I will show you a small video. It's with music. I will mute it or make it a little bit louder. On this video, you can see the PowerPoint morph. So this is a transition between slides and PowerPoint. And everything which is made in this video, you can make in PowerPoint quite easily. So you can see that animation is really smooth. If there is if you have like poor internet connection or there is some problem with my connection, you probably cannot see it really smoothly, and we will discuss how can it affect the time after the COVID-19, but it's looking really cool. And a lot of people don't know that it is possible to make it in PowerPoint. Actually, I wanted to make a small workshop, like it will be a workshop for 1 or 2 minutes and show how the morph is working, and if you haven't used it before. So morph, this is a transition between 2 different slides. And you need to have the same object on one slide and the same object on the second slide. So you can see that there are 2 slides with the same object. And when you apply morph, it's a smooth transition between one state of the object to another state. In my case, this is the location on slide, but it could be not on the location. So it could be also the size of an object. Or it could be the color. And when I apply morph, you can see a smooth animation. Before morph, it was really hard to create such kind of an effect in PowerPoint, but right now you can easily create really cool stuff. And morph is a cool feature of PowerPoint. It's important to know that this trend could be affected. The trend of animation could be affected by COVID-19, because when you present online, like right now, if you have a poor internet connection, or there are some problems with Facebook Live, or there are some problems with Zoom, or I have a poor internet connection, probably you will not see really smooth animation. It could be frame by frame, and it will not look very cool. But during live speeches and offline events, or live meetings, when you're sitting in front of the investor or a potential partner, it could really spice up your presentation. So this trend could be affected by current situation, but we'll see how it goes in the future. If you'd like to be more proficient with morph, my team created the ebook, the electronic book, which is called Morph Book. And these are a lot of different examples which you can try to repeat at PowerPoint. And there are step-by-step guide how you can do that. It's in English and it's Russian and it's free. So you can try it on your own. The trend number 3 is 3D. I'm pretty sure that you've seen this trend in graphic design. A lot of modern websites are using 3D animation and 3D graphics. And there are also a possibility to use the 3D objects and effect in PowerPoint. So I hope you see that this astronaut is moving a little bit. So he is a 3D object, which is inserted on the slide. There is a library of standard 3D objects in PowerPoint. But if you're a hardware startup, you can use the 3D model of your product on the slide, and it will look really cool. And the previous trend could be also affected by COVID-19 situation and online presenting, because when you present online, it's not really easy to share the presentation with 3D objects, so it could be seen on the other computer. So you can share a screen, but if there are problems with internet, it could be not seen very well by the person, by your audience. The trend number 4, it's work automation and assistant. I believe that at some point in the future, the people won't actually attend such kind of webinars on presentation design. And the reason for that is that nobody will do presentations manually. So at some point in the future, there will be a computer algorithm or artificial intelligence algorithm that will create presentations instead of people. So this is work automation and assistance. In Prezi, it's almost impossible. Okay, it's possible, but it's not really easy to create a presentation from scratch. They have a lot of different templates, and you can easily, when you don't have a lot of content, you can easily choose very nice template, insert your text, pictures, and you will receive a really nice presentation. Slide Beam, their target audience are the startups, and they have a lot of startup pitch deck templates. And they also use the similar computer algorithm, which can help you to change the layout of the whole presentation on all the slides. You can change the colors, the fonts instantly for the whole presentation. So these are like smart templates. And the only thing which you need to do is to insert your text and your pictures. The same is with Beautiful AI. This is the newest tool. They've received a lot of investments a few years ago, and they also do the smart templates. And these templates are adapting to your content. So these are the tools which can really speed up your presentation design process, especially when you don't have a lot of content. But when you have content-heavy slides, or you need a customizable graphics, it's not really easy to use these tools. It will work only when there are not a lot of content on the slides. You have a live speech or the pitch deck with a few numbers, few texts, and so on. But I'm pretty sure that for a lot of different usages, you can use these tools. And in PowerPoint, you have also the automation process in some way. So a few years ago, PowerPoint introduced the design ideas. This is a feature which is available in the newest versions of PowerPoint and Microsoft 365. It is located in the design tab. And when you have an internet connection and not a lot of content on the slide, PowerPoint can help you to design a really nice slide like this in just a few clicks. So PowerPoint is getting smarter and smarter and helping you to create presentations easily. I've named this trend as an assistance. So the newest features of PowerPoint can help you during the live speeches or online meetings like this one. One of these is live subtitles. So you can do the live subtitles and the PowerPoint with some kind of correctness will do the subtitles. Okay, you can see there are some mistakes, but for the person with really great English, it could be much better. And there are a lot of different languages, and it can translate live during online events or live events to different audiences from all the world. Also, an interesting tool which was presented just recently, and it works with the web version of PowerPoint. This is a presenter coach. So you can train your pitch with the assistance from PowerPoint and receive a summary of the pace of your pitch, how good was it, from some parameters. Were there a lot of filler words, sensitive phrases, which can be sensitive for different audiences, and some additional reports. So you can train your pitch or your speech with PowerPoint and receive a feedback from it. But all these tools won't help you when you need a lot of customizable things, customizable graphics, or when you have content-heavy slides. So probably the best way to do great presentations so far is to learn the tools which you're using. So if you're using Keynote, you should learn Keynote very good. Interface, all the features. The same with PowerPoint. There are a lot of different features and instruments, around 700, I believe. And 100 of them is really useful for presentation design. And you can create easily from scratch or from a template a good presentation. And I hope that this time, when we have a lot of opportunities around to learn different skills and different tools. And during this time, we also developed our online course. Actually, we haven't launched it yet. We will launch it in about several days, few days. And this is the online course on how to create great presentations in PowerPoint really fast and with beautiful design. So you can check it out on propowerpoint.com. So we discussed a lot of the latest features of tools, and we will talk about the content. And these are not going to be trends in the content. These are general recommendations, which are going to be really useful. They were useful like 20 years ago. They are useful right now, and they will be useful in 20 years. I believe so. So the recommendation, get to the point. So it's not really good to insert a lot of text when you have even like difficult technical product. And we've seen that a lot of engineers, for example, they're inserting a lot of characteristics of their product or a lot of description. It's not really valuable for the audience. We should keep in mind that these are real people who will see our text, our presentation, and we should worry about the communication with these people. So it is better to pre-read the text and try and to get to the point. So to shorten it, to make it more clear, more valuable to the audience. So always try to make it simpler for the audience. Also, very old recommendation, but still very useful, is one idea per one slide. When you have a similar slide like that, which we received from our client, you can ask yourself, can I differentiate different ideas on this slide? And can I separate these ideas on different slides? If the answer is yes, and you can see that there are some different ideas, you can try to separate them on different slides, and the less text you have, the more opportunity to play with the design. So this is an example from our portfolio. One more example, it's in Russian, but this is an interior design studio. And in interior design, the most important thing is your portfolio. So when you have a similar slide, it is better to change it to the slide where the picture is taking the full screen, and you can split this text onto the different pictures and different renders. So one idea per slide is a really great recommendation. One of the trends, which was actually dictated by the internet and the social media networks like Instagram, Facebook, we all want to consume some animated content, video content. We like to watch YouTube, so you can also insert some videos and GIFs in your presentation. And if you have a similar slides with not a lot of content, you can try to use a video as a background and it will look like really great. Or you can try to find some funny GIF and also insert onto the slides. But you should keep in mind that videos, they have a lot of size. And if you are sending the presentation to a different person, it should be compressed video. So it will not, so the size of the file won't be like really huge. So these are general recommendations regarding the content, and we'll speak a little bit about the design. We will not talk about the design about the trends in graphic design. We will talk about recommendations in the presentation design. But if you'd like to be in the line with the trends in graphic design, in the website design, so you should develop your design taste. And the easiest way to do that, not the easiest, but one of the ways to do that is to go to different websites of famous brands, like for example, of Apple, of Tesla, and try to find some inspiration for your presentations and for your slides. So this could be a great product slide if you're a hardware startup where you put your product on the right and the description on the left. Or this could be a slide with some characteristics. So you don't need to do it from scratch. You can take an inspiration on the websites of famous brands. This is also a great example of the website, and you can create a slide with similar layout. In order to develop your design taste, you can use websites like awards.com, behance.net, and dribble.com. Also, I'm using Instagram, so I found here a lot of different hashtags connected to graphic design, and it's really easy to save some great examples of design, and I'm able to use it in my presentations later on. Typography. The most important part of presentation are the texts, and some people are trying to insert like too much text into the presentations, especially when you're sending the presentation online by email and there is no speaker which can describe some of the concepts of your product. There will be a lot of text. And it is better to work with this text to make it as readable and as good looking as possible. This is an example of usual slide, but if you change few parameters of the text, you can receive much simpler and more beautiful and more readable slide. An example, much better slide. And these parameters, which you can change, they are not really hard to manipulate. There are some simple rules, and we will discuss them right now. So you should work with your text on the slides, and you should study typography a little bit if you're doing presentations on regular basis. If you work a little bit with typography, your slides will be much better. So some general things which can help you to design better presentations. First, it's better to talk about the fonts. There are a lot of different categories of fonts. For presentation design, it's important to keep in mind that there are sans serif fonts, and decorative fonts. Serif fonts, they have like small serifs on the end of the letters. In Russian, it's called засечки. So this is шрифты с засечками. Sans serif, they don't have these serifs, and in Russian, it's шрифты без засечек. And decorative, these are just some unusual fonts. And the first rule is that you can use the first two groups of sans serif and serif fonts for different types of text. For example, for titles, subtitles, for body text. The decorative fonts, it is better to use only for titles and subtitles, but it's not a good idea to use them for a body text. So just try to see on the right side of the slide, and you can see that the body text is not readable at all. But the title is looking okay. So you can create some catchy title with using of decorative fonts. So don't use the decorative fonts for the body text. Let's talk more in detail about the sans serif and serif fonts. So please take a look on the right side of the slide. How many fonts used there? 1, 2, 3, or 4? When I show it to the live audience, most of the people say that there is one font. But actually there are two different fonts, Georgia and Times New Roman, but they are all these two types of fonts, there are serif fonts. And for like people who are not designers, it's hard to distinguish one font from another. So basically, a lot of people will see as one font. And on the left side, we can see that on the body text, there is a sans serif font, and on the title, there is a serif font. And there is a contrast between them, and it is easily to distinguish these two fonts. So the rule number 2, when you're using 2 or 3 fonts, so use the fonts from different groups, so for different types of text. For example, for body text, the sans serif font, and for titles, the serif font, or vice versa. And don't use fonts from one group. If you'd like to use some unusual fonts, non-standard, you can easily find them online. One thing which it is better to keep in mind that different fonts will evoke different emotions in the audience. For example, one text with 2 different fonts will evoke different emotions. So try to keep in mind which emotion do you want to evoke in your audience, and try to find the similar font for that. You can find a lot of free fonts for different usages, for commercial and non-commercial usages on fonts.google.com. Also, let's talk about the size. It's easy that for the readability, especially for live events, the bigger the font, the better the readability. For online, or when you're sending the presentations by email, you can use the size of 12 points or 14 points. This could be also okay if the person will see it on the laptop or on the computer, but it could be a small size if the person is looking at it through the cell phone. And we actually don't know usually how the person will look like, how the person will look at the presentation, which way. There are some other parameters except the fonts. So you can see the map of Kyiv subway station, and you can see that on the left side, the font is bigger, but on the right side, it is more readable. And there are different parameters which we will discuss. First one is general recommendation. You shouldn't type a lot of text with the caps, with all big letters. So you can try to compare the right side and the left side. And most people will tell that the left side is more readable than the right side. So recommendation is not to use the caps and the big letters for big amount of text. But it is okay to use it for 2 or 3 words, for example, for titles. The next recommendation involves the line height, I believe. So the shorter the lines, the more readable it is. So you can try to compare 3 texts, and most people will tell that the second paragraph and the third paragraph is more readable. It is much better and faster to read the text when the lines are short. And the line spacing. So on the left side, the multiplier for the line spacing is 1. On the central side is 1.2, 1.3, and on the right side is 1.5. During the live lectures, most people will tell that the middle one, is the best one, the best way to use the line spacing, and it is going to be more readable than the right side and the left side. And it's important to note because in PowerPoint by default, the multiplier is 1. So it is better to increase the multiplier. For most fonts, it will be 1.2, 1.3 in order to make the text more readable. And the last recommendations regarding the typography is the alignment. A lot of people in PowerPoint align to the full height of the line. And in PowerPoint, it will create really huge spaces between the words, which will attract a lot of attention. So in PowerPoint, it is much better to align a huge amount of text to the left side, and it is not a good idea to justify the text. Okay, this was about the recommendations about the typography. Let's talk about the images. These are simple recommendations. We will not cover like trends in images, but important recommendations and mistakes which are people doing nowadays in presentation design. And the first thing that you shouldn't do in your presentations, never, please don't use these people. They are less popular nowadays, but still in big companies, we've seen that a lot of people are using it. Please don't use them. They are not emotional. Usually they do some crazy stuff like connecting a laptop to the earth and something like that. And they are not usually relevant to the content. They could be relevant, but they are not emotionally appealing. And instead of these kind of slides like teamwork, it is much better to find a high quality slide to write down the teamwork, and it's gonna be much better for the presentation and much more emotionally appealing for the audience. Don't use the images with low quality. You can see the low quality by the pixels. And it is much better to use the photo stocks to find a great image. The easiest way to create a great slide is to put the image on the background and write a word. And it's going to be a great slide already for the live speech. There are a lot of different platforms for the images. My favorite are Pixabay, Unsplash, and if you have a corporate account, you can use the Shutterstock if you have a paid account. This is a general also recommendation. Try always to simplify the information on slides. So it could be about the data and the data tables. And these shows how you can simplify. Working in PowerPoint with tables and graphs is not an easy task. But if you spend like 10-15 minutes for tables and graphs, and they could be the most important part of your presentation, it will be much better for the audience. So try to remove everything, all the repetitive things, some colors, and don't forget to use the accent in order to show the most important part on the table or on the graph. There is a good blog about working with data and graphs. These are guys from Canada, darkhorseanalytics.com, and they have really interesting articles and examples on how to work with data. Some examples from our portfolio. So if you see such kind of slides, try to remove all the unnecessary elements. Try to understand which are repetitive things and how things are relating to each other. So right here, we have 3 different graphs, and it is much better to split them. So it's going to be much easier to understand what kind of graph showing what kind of data. And we can easily create an accent and the most important idea of this graph. And it's much better for the audience to see a slide like that. One more example, clients send us such kind of slide. We've read all the text and we've seen that we can formulate this text in just one idea. So it is a good idea to read the text and try to get the main idea of this text, and you can use it on the slide. If you have a lot of different elements on the slide, try to remove them. And after that, you can try to enhance the design. For the first slides of presentations, it's not necessary to have the information like the contact information or the number of version, different logotypes. Try to simplify it. Remove all the unnecessary things and leave only what is important for that particular slide. So try to simplify the information on slides and make the slides much easier for the audience to understand. And also kind of trend, and this is kind of trend in communication in general. It is really great to distinguish yourself between the competitors or between the other startup speakers by using some creative approach or creative presentation or creative speech. I will show just different examples from our portfolio with presentations. So these are slides from the hand-drawn presentation, and all the slides were hand-drawn. And this style is very different from the strict business presentations, and it will attract a lot of attention. If you are not a designer or you cannot draw, you can easily draw something like that. And everybody can draw such kind of slides, but it still look good and it will differentiate yourself from the audience. You can use some trends in graphic design and create some really nice presentations with addition of animation, more bright colors. Animation to simplify the information on slides. And one more example of presentation where we used the characters, the illustrations. And if you can use the characters in your speech or introduce some characters into your speech, so it is really great idea to draw them and to show them. So always try to think how can you differentiate from other startups, other speakers, and try to do something creative. Probably after the COVID-19 situation, the presentation will still be one of the main communication tool between the companies and the people. So let's try to do great presentations. Let's try to worry about the communication between the people and make the presentation and the communication better for everybody. Keep safe and stay healthy. Thank you.
Oh, that was very cool. Great tips on layouts and typography and tables as well. Thank you, Alex, a lot. Let's see if we have any questions. Guys, if you have any questions, wherever you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, please write them below the video. We will cover them all. So far, I see only one. So the question is this information valid for Google Slides?
The general recommendations about the content and the design, they are valid for Google Slides. As far as I know, the Google Slides as a software tool is much limited. Yeah, the features of Google Slides much more limited than in PowerPoint, in Keynote, and in other software tools which I told you about. The main competitive advantage of Google Slides, which was before, like several years ago, the easy way to edit the presentation online with several people. And this was the main competitive advantage. I don't know, like in Keynote, but in PowerPoint, you can also use the OneDrive, and a lot of different people can edit the presentation actually using the desktop version of PowerPoint, and you can see the changes on the go. So PowerPoint is just more powerful tool, but regarding the general presentation design and the content recommendations, you can use and apply them to Google Slides as well.
Cool, thank you. Another question, will there be a video after that? Yes, you can find the video on Facebook and on YouTube.
And also I have an addition. It's not also a video, but we also will create like a written version, an article based on this information. So you can easily also read and scan all the information and save it to later read.
That's awesome. Nice. We have lots of thank you words from Greece and from other countries below the video on Facebook and on YouTube. No questions so far, but I think it was a very insightful presentation. So thank you a lot. Looks like it's time to say see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you very much for listening. And if you have any questions, you can also reach me via Facebook or via email. So I will happy to answer.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.